We are reaching the end of our top 8 clashes, and today we have an absolute smasher for you. HunterSerge representing Demeter and the Earth Pantheon, taking on SunseedJess, who, despite her name, is representing Zeus and the Thunder Pantheon. Hello, Elestriad. My name is Caleb, and I'm here as your guest commentator here for our final set for top 8. Very, very exciting stuff. You may recognize me from a previous top 8 clash. I am a Elestriad competitor, but today I'm stepping back from that role and taking on one of bringing you this incredible match that we have ahead of us. Before we get into what's ahead of us, don't forget to check out what's behind us, being Dimax's Clash versus Golden Nova, an incredible mirror of water versus water. You don't want to miss that. Absolutely go check it out after you see what's going on in today's clash. And while this may be Elestriad season for the Moonrise Elestriad, we have an upcoming set, Elestrals Divine Champions Firestorms, coming out May 23rd, coming up super close, super soon. Very excited for it. Don't forget to go ahead and check that out over on shopelestrals.com. You can pre-order there or go over to your local game store. I know that I've gone ahead and gone over there, pre-ordered a lot of product. I'm very excited for a whole bunch of new stuff. I'm a Firecaster, excited for the new Champion of Hephaestus Volcaries, the artifact support. Of course, if you go and pre-order, there are pre-order bonuses. And if you go to an LGS, there's a exclusive Stellar Emprix for the Champion of Hestia, for the Hestia strategy. Very cool stuff. I can't wait to get mine in for my LGS. But with that, let's go ahead and hop into talking about the clash that we have for you here today. Sunseed Jess and HunterSerge taking on to see who can land their spot in top 4. HunterSerge went undefeated in pools. In top 16, they took out a recent competitor for the Elestriad, first time, Cards and Coffee, in a 2-1 victory. Very clean little Earth v Earth mirror match there. Sunseed Jess, on the other hand, went 2-1 in pools, only losing to Yadalocked, an Earthcaster, which I think is very interesting since her matchup here will be versus another Earthcaster. Potentially she'll be prepping a little bit extra hard for this one, knowing that this might be a weak matchup, but was not a tough matchup for her. Was her top 16 versus the creator of Elestrals, A-Drive, a fellow Firecaster, representative of Hephaestus for the Elestriad, A-Drive. That was a 2-0 victory for her, showing that Thunder can take down fire. But enough of me talking about these casters. Let's hear from them, what they're bringing, what these decks are going to look like. Let's go ahead and start off with HunterSerge.
We're in top 8 now, and now we have to fight Sunseed Jess. Jess is on Thunder. I believe it is in my heart of hearts that Jess is going to be on an Olympus-based Thunder strategy. Thunder's big problem in the Elestriad format is that it doesn't have a natural 5. It's some real problem with stat lines. Olympus helps rectify that a lot. And also, if you look at the decks that Jess tends to bring to premieres, Jess comes off as a really big Jolton Olympus believer. It's always somewhere in her decks. And also, she brought it against Yada in pools. So we have built our main deck under the assumption that she is running an Olympus-based Thunder strategy. The other thing there is that if she isn't on Olympus stuff, then the stuff we have to counter the Olympus stuff is still fine, but the stuff that we would be putting in its place if we're assuming it's not Olympus are awful if she is on Olympus. So we are going to be on the side of caution of assuming that it's Olympus stuff, and we can adapt with the sideboard. We have a pretty standardized lineup at this point. We only have 2 Mudlet for this matchup. If Olympus is up, it would have to crash into Rabbit. It wouldn't clear a Jolton or a Toxion. She also brought Havocub against Yada. Eddie can at least crash with the Havocub. Mudlet can't really do anything to it. It's still a really good card. Still probably going to be very useful, but we're only going to be running 2 of it here. The other thing, I'd be doing this anyways. So we're on 3 Crackle, 1 Arcliff. I'd be doing that no matter what, because one of Thunder's big edges over us is that they have inherent access to Crackle, and also Arcliff. Those cards become even stronger with Olympus, and one of the biggest risks to us is just falling behind on Spirits, because they have more healers than we do, and thus they have more game actions than we do. So we are running a heavy Thunder package with like 6 Thunder Spirits in our Spirit deck, as you'll see, so that we can run 3 Crackle, 1 Arcliff, and have access to as many Spirits as they do. And then we just running every counter rune. We are running 3 Gaze, 3 Argo, 2 Tsunami, 2 PTA, 2 Shield. All these back row are good, and I think Argo is like our best way of forcing ourselves into advantageous position, and then we can use Crackle and Ambrosia's to get ourselves back in there, Scythe to heal up, stuff like that. And of course, we have a Jolton and a Fuloi, so we can get rid of the Olympus and replace it with our own stuff. But we can also just take advantage of her Olympus by using our Thunder stuff and misenchanting stuff with Thunder. Lots of good stuff we can do there. Okay, Spirit deck. This is our most basic one yet. We only have space for 3 Spirits in here, and we only need those 3 Spirits. We have our 11 Earth, then we have 6 Thunder. I am actually generally of the opinion that I want 6 Thunder, specifically if I'm on Crack 1 Arcolith. Specifically with Arcolith, because, okay, so let's run out a scenario. We set up 3 Thunder in our Underworld for Arcolith to get. We normal cast out Arcolith using 2 Thunders. If this gets gazed and then they deal with our Arcolith, or they Tsunami us or whatever, we now have no capacity to play our Rabbits, our Elechiks, or our Quackle, which is a healer. It's really important to keep that alive. So I wanted a 6th Thunder so that we could keep Quackle alive. And then we have 3 Water, and now we have our side deck. It includes the Doppelganger Navi package with 2 Lunars. This is the bare minimum for making this work. And then we have 3 Cryoblast, 1 Flurmine. If she is not on Olympus, this is probably what I'll be bringing in, because Cryoblast is really good against most Thunder stuff. We have 1 more Jolton, 1 more Mudlet, and then we have 1 Shield, 1 PTA, 1 Tsunami, so that we can adapt our counter rune lineup based on what she's running. With that said, wish me luck, and let's see if we can get to top 4.
Hunter's bringing some very interesting stuff to today's clash. I think the most interesting piece is this Jolton to search Fuloi Forest counter, since they are expecting SunseedJess to be bringing a Mount Olympus focused strategy. Now, they made a very interesting point that she did in fact bring in pools, I believe, a Mount Olympus centered strategy, and so trying to make sure that their deck is structured to beat that, I think, is very, very smart, and centering the side deck around playing around, you know, how her deck might be constructed to try and adjust for the weak points is very, very interesting. But since we're talking so much about trying to counter SunseedJess's deck, let's go ahead and hear from her about what she's bringing to today's class.
Top 8 of the Elestriad, and today we are against Earth again. Last time I unfortunately lost 2-0 to Earth, so need to change up the strategy a little bit. So what are we bringing? Shockingly, I know the Thunder player is playing 3 copies of Astravit and an Elechik. I know. No. So 3 Astravit, 1 Elechik, and 2 copies of Quackle. This is our Thunder lineup once again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Then for our Waters, 3 copies of Galaxy. It's really good if they're not on the Luna build, because if there's no Spectaruses, it's really good. And 3 Eddie, gets rid of opposing bunnies and Equalinxes. Then we are playing our own Earth package this time. 2 copies of Viscerus, 1 copy of Equalinx, 1 copy of Rumagem, and a copy of Mudlet. So playing a little Earth core, gonna try and play Argo Wars a little bit. Also, Viscerus steamrolling is very valuable in this matchup. We have 3 copies of Ambrosia to start off our runes, then 2 copies of Zeus and 2 copies of Cryoblast. So instead of playing 3 Zeus like we have for every other match, gone down to 2 because Equalinx is a little bit difficult for us, and I don't want to invest really heavily in my Zeuses and then just get blown out by an Equalinx. And Cryoblast, good against the Webfoot build and against Viscerus. Then, for the rest of our runes, I'm playing 1 Earthquake, 1 Laurels. Being able to play this is the advantage of playing the Earth Core. 3 copies of Gorkon's Gaze, 3 copies of Poison Tipped Arrow, 2 copies of Tsunami, and 2 copies of Shield of Achilles. I don't think this needs too much explanation. Against Earth, they typically don't play any big guys outside of maybe a Doppelganger, so Shield of Achilles isn't as good as normal. To play a few more counter runes, we are playing our Argo package, Scythe of Demeter to take advantage of their Demeter. And those are our Nexus banks for the Equalinx too. As for our Spirit deck, we are playing a random assortment of 15 Thunder Spirit, 5 Earth Spirit, 3 Water Spirits, and a Frost Spirit. As for our side deck, our side deck's quite PC this time. We have 1 Rumagem, and 1 Quackle. Then we have 2 copies of Boombat, 2 copies of Spectaris in case we are against a Galaxy Norby kind of list, and 2 Owloon to fuel the Spectarises. Okay, and then for our runes inside, we are playing a 3rd copy of Zeus, another copy of Shield in case it's like Centaurobor or something, and a 3rd copy of Cryoblast, 1 copy of Altar of Stars in case we want to end up siding more heavily into runes, or into counter runes. We then have the Shield and the Altar of Stars to replace the Argos with, 2 copies of Hurricane, and a copy of Lycoris. I normally prefer Thunderstorm, but I kind of like Hurricane in the matchup where Argo is going to be pretty prevalent. Anyway, that's it for my deck list. Hopefully we don't get steamrolled by Earth again. I'm hoping for a win. Let's see how it goes.
It looks like Jess may have actually giga-brained Hunter here. Mount Olympus is not in the deck. In fact, it looks like she's preparing a very, very sort of standard, almost like 5s, just playing out really solid stats. Elestrals, playing the stuff like Viscerous, a little bit of an Earth package, a little bit of Water package, trying to split up those extra spots in her Spirit deck to try and make her deck as versatile and consistent as possible for just outing any Elestral that Hunter might be able to play to the field. The Spectaris in the side and the Boombats actually, I think, are very, very interesting choices from Jess here, since Spectaris helps out with any sort of water Elestrals that Hunter might be playing, and then Boombat is just a really solid normal cast that we don't see a whole ton. It helps to deal with the really large Elestrals, but it is very possible that Boombat just comes in as a way to out an Astrabbit or out a sticky Elestral if she sees an Argo come out of Hunter. I really, really like the flexibility of both of these casters' side decks, and I like the sneaky little Hurricane as a potential from Jess here. I doubt that Hunter's going to see this one coming. Now that our casters have shown us their decks and explained what they plan to bring to this clash, there's nothing left but to see who will come out victorious in this clash for making it onto top 4. It looks like Jess is starting us off with a mulligan into an Astrabbit. I bet she's feeling pretty good about going for that mulligan there. When you open up that second hand, you see Astrabbit somewhere in there. It's hard to feel too bad about taking that mulligan. You know, it can feel bad to go for the expend 2 to start, but when you end up with a solid hand like Astrabbit in defense mode with 2 back row set, I think it's hard to complain. Really solid start here from SunseedJess. I bet she's feeling pretty good despite the initial Spirit investment to make sure that her hand is better off than not. As she passes on over to HunterSerge, looks like they're going to be going into the Spirit deck for a Thunder Spirit, and that is an Astrabbit of their own. That beautiful full art stellar Astrabbit is going to be hit with a poison-tipped arrow right in its foot, and Hunter now probably feeling solid in terms of the Spirit advantage. They're 19 to Jess's 16, potentially down to 15 if she expends to pop, but they're also losing that board advantage. And that's going to be kind of tough. They're going to need a couple of back row here to try and protect their life total. Otherwise, they're going to start equalizing with Jess in terms of spirits. And looks like Sunseed Jess is going to go ahead and expend that spirit to go ahead and pop that Astrabbit. And Hunter, 2 sets, passing it on over to Jess. And Jess has a really big opportunity here to try and push in, take control of this game, push through some of that back row. And it looks like she's just going to re-enchant to the Astrabbit. Want to get some more card advantage here. Very interesting. You know, there's some thoughts that are going through HunterSerge's head here. Is she lacking Elestrals? Does she just want the card advantage? And is Jess going to be swinging with this 2 Spirit Astrabbit? I see no reason why not to, honestly, unless that back row is just basically nothing. But it looks like she's going to be reaching for that Astrabbit, putting it to attack position, and likely swinging for 2 damage here. Going to be setting a back row to start, though. And that's got to feel great for Jess. That extra spirit under the Astrabbit is going to be getting used for a counter rune like a PTA, a Shield of Achilles, a Gorgon's Gaze. All of these types of counter runes will be very beneficial for her to keep this board state. And she's invested a lot of spirits here, but she's got pretty good board presence. And it looks like HunterSerge putting down one of these spirits on their table here, and a resting on your laurels is brutal. That is absolutely brutal. You know, we're talking about Jess getting board state, putting up pressure here, and laurels into Viscerous is just going to put up so much more pressure back onto Jess. Despite her mulliganing, these casters are on pretty even spirit totals here. SunseedJess got a lot of card advantage with the re-enchanting Astrabbits. She's gonna need something really powerful here to take out this Viscerous, though, and it looks like she's got something in her hand. It's a Mudlet. That is exactly what she needs to see to try and take out this Viscerous. That 3/3 stat line, taking on a 5/2 here in the form of Viscerous, and HunterSerge looking to that back row. Shield's not really preferable. Tsunami would be phenomenal in this board state. They're considering the cards in their hand. You can see the hand on the face, thinking very deeply about what the option is here, and Gorgon's Gaze is going to get flipped up. The way they kind of grabbed it, I wonder if they maybe meant to play a different counter rune here, but committing to the Gorgon's Gaze regardless since it was flipped up. That you don't feel too bad about that. It's a little bit more expensive than maybe would have preferred. Like a Tsunami is pretty solid as an option here. But Gorgon's Gaze preventing that attack, you don't really mind it. Especially when your spirit differential is not too far off. And with this, Eddie hitting the board, potentially swapping this Mudlet to defense, Jess is now going to be really on the back foot here. She's going to need a combination of back row, like Poison-Tipped Arrow and a Tsunami would be absolutely killer here for her to protect this Mudlet. The Mudlet will get swapped to defense by the Edward, but unless that back row is another piece of protection, it is very likely that this Viscerus is going to connect and then get another Viscerus out of deck. But Jess flips up a Gorgon's Gaze of her own. We're going full art for full art here, just flexing on each other. And both of these casters just tearing through their spirit decks as they pay out counter rune after counter rune, and they interact with each other repeatedly. And all of a sudden, oh no, is that... Oh, sorry, that is a Poison-Tipped Arrow payout. I thought that was an expended draw. That gave me a good scare right there. But no, it looks like Jess re-enchanting the Mudlet. Okay, I like this play here from Jess, wanting to use the Mudlet's ability to re-trigger on re-enchant, swapping into attack, and now we can re-pressure this Viscerus. But the two back row from HunterSerge, you know, they just have everything, it seems. They've had two back row, I think, set every single turn that they have ended, and a Tsunami is exactly what we want to see. You know, we want to see it earlier, potentially, instead of the Gorgon's Gaze, but Tsunami, that does it. It gets this Mudlet to defense position, and Jess now left with one back row to contest with what will likely be two Elestrals coming out of HunterSerge. You know, the one Viscerus already on board, and the one cast from hand, potentially. We're setting a face down. Are we expecting to draw? Are we normal casting? That it looks like a normal cast here. No, that is an expend to draw. So Jess actually probably feeling phenomenal in this board state, because if this is a shield set, this Viscerus goes back to hand. It's played for free, but that is a Mudlet getting taken down by the Viscerus, and a Viscerus taken out from deck, special cast in defense position. That back row from Jess is not live. That is not doing anything for her here. And that is a correctly enchanted Viscerus. Jess, you know, it seemed like she might have been in a pretty good spot, but if that's not a real, you know, set rune that is a counter rune, this is looking pretty rough for her here. She's looking to cast out a Galaxy here, though, and that's going to play well into, you know, Tsunami we've seen from HunterSerge can play well into a potential PTA. There's a counter rune that HunterSerge has not cast yet, and it's very likely that that is a PTA, especially if it's not getting cast on this Galaxy here. But the Scythe of Demeter from Jess's hand is going to put a lot onto the board. It's a lot of spirit investment. A Shield of Achilles might be a game ender here, and it looks like HunterSerge wasn't sitting on PTA, but a Shield of Achilles, and that is a scoop from Sunseed Jess. That is ridiculous. Wow, that game looked really, really back and forth. It looked really, really close to start, but whew, Surge just had everything that they needed. Just every single time a counter needed to be cast, there was a live one back there, and you know, that's the power of Earth. It gets what it needs to get. It sees what it needs to see. It's a great deck. Lots of consistent cards, lots of powerful cards. But that's not the only clash that we've got today. We got to keep going. We're going into clash number 2 here. And it looks like, you know, Sunseed Jess will be starting here. If you lose your first game in a best of 3, usually you want to pick to go first here. She's starting with an Ass Rabbit yet again. You love to see it. Love to see that in the opening hand. And this time she didn't need a mulligan for it. You can look at those top 3 cards, pick her favorite, add it to hand. And she's probably looking for back row here if she doesn't have back row. She's looking for Lestrals if she doesn't have Lestrals. This Ass Rabbit is grabbing exactly what she needs off the top of the deck. She's going to set one face down and pass on over to HunterSerge. You know, despite her losing game 1, she's starting off strong here, starting off similar to the last game. And HunterSerge playing a Water Spirit, this can only mean an Eddie most likely. And there it is, that, oh, we talked about the beautiful full art clash, Stellar Ass Rabbit. We got this full art Edward here, and good God, that is a beautiful card. Swinging into an Ass Rabbit, and Tsunami is going to come down to swap her own Ass Rabbit to defense position. And with that, we're going back over to Jess, an Eddie, and a set from HunterSerge, and just a defense position Ass Rabbit for Sunseed Jess. 4 cards in hand on HunterSerge, and a Viscerous is going to land on Jess's board here. HunterSerge looking at that face down, potentially considering PTAing here. I think you absolutely rip it if it is a PTA. They say that's fine. Jess is going to set a face down, and that not Rabbit, the Viscerous is going to swing in to the Eddie, and a Gorgon's Gaze is going to come out. Most likely this is going to be, well, not on attack declaration. This is going to happen in the battle step such that Viscerous loses that attack gain that it gets, and Viscerous will crash with this Eddie. Now, Jess has the decision to do nothing, actually. Since the Viscerous was Gorgon's Gaze, it doesn't get to cast out that other Viscerous from deck, and so I think that was a very solid play here from HunterSerge. Very heads up, clearing Jess's board with a single Elestral, a single Gorgon's Gaze, does it, and this Thunder Spirit is an Ass Rabbit of Hunter's own. We've recreated turn 2 of the prior clash. Now, will HunterSerge have the same just pure quantity of back row as in game 1? Or maybe they're adding off the top an Elestral from those 3 that they just added to hand. They're looking in there. They're setting a face down. You hate to see that after your Jess, but you love to see the pass from HunterSerge, leaving Jess to be the aggressor here as she casts out an Eddie of her own to try and swap this Ass Rabbit to attack position. And it looks like that is going to resolve as HunterSerge has already got their hands over on that Ass Rabbit. The Eddie is going to swing in. And is that a shield? That is a Tsunami. HunterSerge did the exact same thing that Jess did. Eddie into Ass Rabbit, Tsunami to swap your own Ass Rabbit. And just like that, HunterSerge has kept their board presence. The Rabbit has... Okay, Rabbit is going to defense position. I was wondering if maybe there was a consideration being made here. The Altar of Stars out of Jess. I don't remember. I don't think that's in the deck from Jess. But that is a potential option here if she sided into it. I know that that was in her side deck. That is an Argo, actually. So in response, on the resolution rather, of the Tsunami, she's going to go ahead, play out this Argo, and a Scythe of Demeter going to come from her deck, cast onto the Eddie, and now this has become a very profitable turn for her, taking out not only a back row, but also the Ass Rabbit and healing a Spirit along the way. Now, it was quite expensive. That Argo does cost 4. The Scythe is going to refund one of them, and ultimately, they're going to just about Spirit Equalize here. And HunterSerge, it's on to them now to see how they want to handle this board state. You can see them thinking very, very deeply about this, leaning forward, considering their options. Laurels would be killer. We saw it exactly when they needed it in the prior clash. An Earth Spirit indicates maybe that's a Laurels on the Eddie. And wow, that is incredible. Laurel's an incredibly efficient removal card. I don't believe Hunter knew that Jess was on Argo. And so, you know, it's great to see that Laurel's hit the board, see it in hand, potentially grabbed off the Ass Rabbit. That's an option there. But the Elechick from HunterSerge is that could be a massive game determinative play here. Getting the Demeter. The Demeter cast will allow Hunter to take out this Ass Rabbit. Hunter going to be putting a handful of spirits on it. I can't imagine more than 2 though, since it is there's a very real potential that Jess is running an Equilinx of her own. Hunter very well aware that forget the tangent. A Scythe of Demeter for Hunter is going to be attached onto this Elechick, and the enchantment of Demeter to 2 now is a lot less meaningful because it's really just the Demeter wants to be there to be a heal 2 for this Elechick, much less about using it to bump up the stats of the Elechick. Is that only 1? Did I miss? It's only 1. We're only healing 1 Earth here. Potentially Hunter not planning their turns out enough to make sure that this got max value, not expending those Earths at the right time, but a crack back Laurels! Oh, that is insane to see. Jess when her Eddie got Laurels, she must have been sitting with that Laurels in her hand, seeing the Elestriad get cast, and just knowing that she was about to do the exact same thing back to Surge. Now, Surge able to also heal back in that little engagement that they had, but Jess probably feeling pretty good from this position. They are about spirit equal here, about at parity, but Hunter does have 2 more spirits on board. But, actually across their spirit deck and board, they are equal, both at, essentially 12. But HunterSerge expecting to draw only 2 cards in hand, now 3, setting a face down. And if they're not able to see an Elestral to start pressuring and recovering here, this might be where Hunter falls behind. Jess asking how many cards in Hunter's hand. That is 2 to Jess's 4. She's re-enchanting the Ast Rabbit, and surely she goes for an attack rabbit here after picking up what is likely either the exact Elestral she's looking for or some sort of back row to protect this Ast Rabbit. A Shield of Achilles in this game state would be ridiculous, but a Hurricane dropping down to blow out those 2 back row from HunterSerge is incredible. I believe that was an Argo and a Tsunami that we see out from Hunter. And in this position, Ast Rabbit swinging for 2 damage, 1 set. Jess, you can see a little bit of a sigh of relief, a little bit of stretch as she knows that now she is in the driver's seat. These players are at equal spirits on board and in spirit deck. Hunter shaking their head a little bit at that draw. Is that an expended draw? No, that is an expended draw. And Jess has to know that she just about has this one locked in. A normal cast with a shield in that back row is all that she needs, most likely, to just secure this game, lock it up, move it on to a game 3. Hunter might be feeling bad about setting that second face down there. They had 1 set already. The Earthquake, though, is very interesting. 1 from Spirit Deck, 1 off the Demeter to try and keep this Ast Rabbit from pushing in for too much damage. I like this play from Hunter. It can feel kind of bad to Earthquake and Ast Rabbit, but in this board state, I don't think you feel too bad if you're Hunter. Setting 2 more face downs, knowing that another Hurricane is unlikely from Jess, and passing it over to a Viscerus in attack position from Jess. That is scary, punching in for 1 damage, and Hunter needs to see something like an Eddie, needs to see... I don't believe Spectaris was... No, yes, Spectaris was not in their side, but a Nobby is. And if they side it into the Nobby, that'll be very, very solid. But a Viscerus from Hunter with that Demeter is what they need. Jess needs to not have a live back row. If this is Shield of Achilles, game is over. She's considering it. If it's an Argo, it's also game over. But Shield is going to come up, and I imagine we're going to see a scoop from Hunter here. Maybe a little preemptive, maybe not. Hunter maybe has an Ambro in hand. They got some sets there. Looking at their spirit deck, they're passing. A normal cast from Jess puts Hunter at 1 spirit. A reenchant of Viscerus puts HunterSerge at 1 spirit. Any back row from her, an Ambrosia, that Hunter maybe just wanting to see this play out, wanting to see what else Jess might have, what else she might commit to board here, try and get some more knowledge about what is in her deck. No real concerns of time limit. That first game was pretty quick, and just wanting to see what she might play out. There's an Equilinx. If she's got a Demeter, an Artifact, and there we go. There's the scoop from Hunter. That was all they needed to see, and they're going to move on to Game 3. After how that first game went, and then the start of Game 2 as well, I'm very surprised that we're seeing a Game 3, but you know that I'm loving to see it. Absolutely excited to see some more out of these 2 incredible casters, and let's go ahead and hop right into it. And here we are in Game 3. HunterSerge likely to go first here. I think both of these casters like their hands here. Hunter's saying they'll keep. Jess is going to mulligan. She's been very, very liberal with those mulligans. It did not pay off for her in Clash number 1. We'll see if it pays off for her here in Clash number 3. As she goes ahead and picks up the top 5 of her deck and decides if this is keepable. It looks like she's saying yes. And now it's back to HunterSerge to decide how this game starts. But we see an Ast Rabbit. We've seen an Ast Rabbit in the first 2 turns for both of these casters. Every single game, a Thunder Spirit on the board, and an Astro Rabbit in defense position. Commentator's blessing or commentator's curse. It happened in the past, so I can't be somehow influencing it. But HunterSerge looking at the top 3 cards of their deck, picking their favorite, shuffling them back in, and see how many they set here. We got 1. Potentially now Hunter is a little more afraid of that Hurricane out from Jess. That was likely the game-winning play there when Jess was able to drop that down. But she's got an Elechick here to deal with this Astro Rabbit, going to search out her divine of choice, Zeus, which will allow her to take out this Astro Rabbit. That back row from HunterSerge, if it is Shield of Achilles, feels kind of rough because there's only 1 Elechick legal. Elechick currently a limited card. You can only play 1 of it in your deck, and so shielding it can feel kind of bad because you're allowing your opponent to go ahead and search out another Zeus. And Sunseed just liberal with the spirits under Zeus, putting 3 under him. Going to go ahead and debuff the Astro Rabbit, putting it to a 2 defense, a 0-2 stat line. The Elechick's going to go ahead and swing over the Rabbit. HunterSerge, honestly, not even really considering that back row. Probably fairly fine with letting the Astro Rabbit go here. And a Water Spirit on the board. We're going to see that Eddie hit the board to take out this Elechick, and there it is. There's that full art Eddie attempting to swap the Elechick to defense position. And another set, going to go ahead and swing into the Elechick. Just looking at her back row, but the Elechick is going to go down. I think it's worth noting the spirit differential already is quite large here, given Jess did mulligan here. So if she didn't mulligan, the spirits are fairly even, but just having to take that mulligan, now it gave her a very solid hand. Astro Rabbit, or Elechick here searching the Zeus was a very solid play. The Quackle to heal 3 is going to equalize very, very hard, and a PTA from Hunter means that this Zeus and the Quackle do not contest the Eddie. Hunter had a hard time staying on board with Elestrals last game, and so maybe trying to make sure that he stifles out Jess's board and makes sure that she isn't able to have too much presence. But that's a set Cryoblast from Jess, which is going to go ahead and take out the Eddie, and the Quackle can swing in for all of 0 damage. And then the PTA payout looks like to be imminent here from Hunter, taking out this Quackle, not letting it stay on board. And with that, Jess actually, in terms of spirits in board and deck, is at an advantage. HunterSerge expending to draw. Oh no, it can't start like this, Hunter. No, I'm going to set a face down and pass it back to Jess. Maybe not feeling too bad on their side, but Jess going to go ahead and cast this Astro in defense position. Putting defense to me indicates that that back row isn't going to be defensive. It might be offensive or a little more reactive, something that couldn't protect an Astro Rabbit, like a PTA potentially, because otherwise I see no reason not to swing in with this Astro Rabbit here and try and push some damage. But she's going to set a second face down and pass on over to HunterSerge. Hunter entering deep think mode, evaluating their options. The many plethora of lines of play here. How to out this Astro Rabbit, maintain board advantage, and start pushing Jess's spirit total down, dealing with this Zeus in the process as well. If Hunter's able to get to those, forget what I'm saying, another Laurel's interjecting into an anecdote from me. And Hunter, I believe, has seen Laurel's every single game, but Rummagem hitting the board. That was actually exactly what my anecdote I was trying to get to, was if Hunter can access Equilinks here, threatening that Zeus is massive. And Jess has to really consider if she wants this to resolve. If she's got a Gorgon's Gaze, she had to have hit the Rummagem here, because now this Equilinks is threatening to next turn, no matter what, out the Zeus. Like, she needs to either Gorgon's it then, or have some sort of way to prevent it or out it, or get her own Zeus off board. There's a lot of different things to consider here, but this Equilinks, it just being in hand, is putting on pressure to Jess. And Rummagem hitting in for a damage is going to, really, Jess is on the wire, I think. I think we are teetering between these two casters. Who is in advantage? Who is set to take it? But Jess with the Echo Links cast, she's going to be the one to start pressuring. Hunter says, yep. And a Scythe of Demeter is going to come out to Earth under it. This Echo Links is Nexusing, and it's going up to the Echo Links to pop one of these face downs. Hunter going to let it go. It was a Demeter set in the back row. A little bluff set there from them, and Echo Links punching at the Rummagem. Is that a shield? Ooh. I think it's a shield. You rip it immediately. It might be a Gorgon's Gaze here. It's an Argo! Ooh, okay. So this is now the mind game. Hunter considering it, because if Jess has an Argo of her own, she's able to just massively go spirit positive on Hunter. If it is... Nope, never mind. She's already scooping up the card. That back row is not going to contest a Necklace of Harmonia being empowered onto this Rummagem. That is a strong Rummagem. That is a 7-3 Rummagem. That Rummagem's been lifting some rocks down in the caves. That's crazy. Jess going to go and pass from there, losing her Echo Links. Hunter drawing for a turn, needs a way to out their own necklace, and they've got the perfect answer in hand. It's an Echo Links hitting the board to threaten the Zeus, and a PTA is going to come out. And I think if you're Hunter, you do not mind this at all. You Echo Links, you Nexus off the necklace onto the Rummagem. This Rummagem swings for 3 damage now. You pop the Zeus. This is for this turn. This is an insane swing from Hunter. 4 damage this turn. An additional one if Jess wants to pay out the pop for PTA. That's going to be 5 spirits that she is taking out of her spirit deck this turn. And that's going to put her at 5 to Hunter's 8 with 3 on board. This might be it. This might be the point where we have reached the point of no return for Jess. Payout happens. The Echo Links is going to the underworld, and Jess needs a very strong answer to this attack position Rummagem. 2, 3 spirits under it. Astrobot is a start. It is not the answer, but is a way to find an answer. Just gonna look at those cards, pick her favorite. Hopefully it is one that she is happy to see, one that will help her stabilize in this board state. And she's gonna pass over to Hunter. Picks up their spirit deck. Gonna put out a Thunder Spirit for likely a Thunder Elestral, and it's a Rabbit in attack position. That's gonna indicate that this Astrobot is not long for this world. I wonder if an Earthquake is in our future to start pushing for some massive damage. Earthquake could allow Hunter to put Jess on game shot right here. Earthquake, one off the Rummagem. Just punch for 3 damage means that if she shields it, she still loses the same amount of spirits. And that is 2 off the Rummagem. Will put her to 2 spirits in spirit deck if these attacks connect. And we're swinging for 2 damage. Unless this is Tsunami, Jess might be down for the count here. There's a Water Spirit on board, but it's not going under a Tsunami. 2 spirits in spirit deck. Viscerus is not nothing. That is very strong. If Hunter has a Shield of Achilles, though, that is lights out. No, okay. Okay, SunseedJess going for the Viscerus in defense position. Hunter letting the Astrobot die. Hunter is at 7 spirits to Jess's 0. If Hunter is able to ascend into an Elechick, that wins the game. What do they have in hand to handle these Elestrals? And the Viscerus is coming out. And Jess says, yeah, GG. Whew, an absolute crazy back and forth from these casters. Very, very tight. Both just having exact little interactions they need to see right when they need to see them for the most part. But Hunter just able to grab a bunch of advantage there with the Echo Links Nexus up to the Rummagem, swing for so much damage. PTA doesn't matter a whole lot, when you're swinging in for 4 additional damage. It's a tough one for Jess. Heartbreaking to see her go out here, but congrats to Hunter for making it onto top 4. Very, very exciting stuff to see. And Earth makes it on to yet another top 4. Thank you all for watching today's final top 8 clash of Elestriad Season 4. It was an absolute nail-biter, incredible games to see from both of these casters. Make sure you go ahead and like that video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment about your favorite moment. I feel like it's really hard for me to pick because so many of these back and forth games are just incredible to watch. Jess with an absolute blowout turn of a Hurricane, and then Surge with an absolute blowout turn of an Echo Link's Nexus swing for a ton of damage. I love seeing high-level Elestrals. I love seeing these players just clash it out in some incredible games. And with that, we are on to top 4. And up next, we have Trishula from the Thunder Pantheon versus Golden Nova from the Water Pantheon. I think you can assume what might be coming after that. Thank you so much for watching. Check us out in the next top 4 match. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.